is Kwanzaa? Such a hard question, but a simple one. Kwanzaa, let's just say who, what, where, when, how of Kwanzaa. We have to put it in context. When we put things in context, we can see the reasons bearing it out. What is Kwanzaa? Kwanzaa, when we think back to 1926, when Carter G. Woodson introduced the first recognition of Negro achievement, known as Negro History Week, we didn't know then that it would turn into a Black liberation shout of Black History Month. Fast forward 40 years later, in 1966, 40 years, that's a very significant number. In 1966, the founder of Kwanzaa, Dr. Maulana Karinga, created this holiday especially for African Americans and Africans of all descent throughout the diaspora. Kwanzaa means harvest, recognizing the first fruits of harvest. We have our Kwanzaa symbols behind us, the Kinara, the Mashiba Saba, but Kwanzaa, especially this time of Kuji Chagalia, which means self-determination and definition. When we think in terms of the essence of Kwanzaa, we have to think in terms of out of which it was born, 1966, and the 1965 Watts riots had a lot to do with Dr. Karinga wanting to reclaim and rededicate and choose an uplifting concept of Kwanzaa. So we have the predecessors, Malcolm X assassination, and the many riots that occurred. People don't like to talk about the riots, but the riots brought on a change. Even, especially when we note the one in 1968 after the assassination of Martin Luther King.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Kwanzaa is a rebuilding, a reclamation of our African identity, our ancestry. Because if we don't know our history and if we don't cherish our history, others will tell the story. If Carter G. Woodson hadn't thought in 1926 and created Black History Month for us as we know it, then we would have no precedent. But we do have a precedent. And Dr. Karinga is a continuation. Kwanzaa is also a social political factor. It grew out of Dr. Karinga's first significant volume, Kawida, which is essentially social and political thought. Now when we think of social and political thought, what was happening in the 60s between the presidents Kennedy, Johnson, and Nixon? We have to think political because Kwanzaa is in essence social and political. And that is, even today, when we think in terms of the politics of Barack Hussein Obama, we have to critically analyze who and what he stands for and what he represents at this juncture in our time and history. So we have to think about Tunisia, Benghazi, the Congo, Mali, all these Pan-African connections, which Kwanzaa also pulls us into thinking about. So what is Kwanzaa? We have to decide and define where we go in the 21st century. And Kuji Chakalia is the principle that we're celebrating tonight, and it's the principle that we want to define our goal and our mission for the next 21st century. Thank you. Asante. As the program is printed, we're going to be favored by a drumming and spoken word by San Conscious Percussion Ensemble. years ago when we met, right? Anyway, Akbar Imhotep is the storyteller for the city of Atlanta. And goes back into the days of the neighborhood arts center. If any of you can remember that.
That's right, we know about neighborhood arts center.
Okay. Well, this is one of the elder statesmen of creativity and ingenuity in Atlanta. Akbar Imhotep.
Thank you, Terry, for inviting me. Thank you, Shrine, for opening up your house to welcome to the community to another uplifting program. My name is. My name is Akbar Imhotep, and I have the pleasure and the joy and opportunity to be here before you to share. Terry invited me to do one story, but Terry, I want to take a personal privilege and do another little short story for you, okay? Well, I want to begin with a question. My question is, and it's a two-part question. Are you ready for the revolution? Are you ready for another party?
Revolution.
Are you sure?
Sure.
I want to tell you this story. This is actually a story that I learned from a 10-year-old girl. And the first time I heard it, I said I could preach that story. And all the stories I have on my list, I have a few that are actually about self-determination. But this one may be the most cootie-chocolate one of them all. It's a child. It's so funny about children's stories. Sometimes you find them in 3.9, 8.2, but they don't be for children at all. They kind of be for us. And I learned this from a 10-year-old girl. Believe it or not, it's called Scat the Cat. And it's about a black cat. It's about a black cat who can change his colors by saying a simple little song like, I'm Scat the Cat, I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that. Can you say that with me? I'm Scat the Cat, I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that. And so I want you to put this black cat in the context of like, if you wanted to be blonde tomorrow, you could be blonde. If you wanted to have hair down to your ankles, you could do that too. If you want to have locks, sometimes I just cherish and just admire the people who took years and years and years to just let their hair grow and speak to the ancestors and speak to the Creator. And now you can go to the beauty shop and get 30-year locks in 30 minutes. That's okay, because you can do it. And they're not going to go like the whole thing if you want to change this or that. Just know that the cat going from black to whatever could be anything going from anything, because you can't say anything everywhere. So the story's called Scat the Cat. And you're going to help me by saying, I'm Scat the Cat, I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that. Now, it won't work without the clap. Can we practice the clap? And I can change my color just like that. Once upon a time, there was a black cat named Scat. And Scat had lots of friends, lots of cousins, lots of brothers and sisters. Well, one day Scat got up and said, you know what? I'm tired of being a black cat. I want to be different. So I think I'm going to change my color, but what should I change it to? I think I'll change it to green. And you know what he said? I'm Scat the Cat, I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that. So Scat changed his color to green like leaves, green like broccoli, green like grass. And he went walking through the grass, but when his friends came around, they didn't see him. Sometimes it be so different how people don't recognize us, do you? But Scat's friends didn't see him out there in the grass, so they left him like that. Scat says, hey, come back. Scat says, wait a minute. Being green, I can't be seen. What should I do? Oh, I know. I'm going to change my color to blue. And you know what he said? I'm Scat the Cat. I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that. So Scat changed his color to blue. Blue like the sky on a clear day. Blue like water somewhere in the world. And I forgot to mention that Scat couldn't swim, and he got a little bit too close to the water, and he fell in. And as soon as Scat, I forgot to mention that he couldn't swim. As soon as that no-swimming cat hit that crystal blue water, what do you think you said? No, not this time. He said, help! But his friends came over and looked in, but he sunk down 3 times, but a turtle swam up underneath and picked him up and took him over to the bank and said, Scat, you better be careful. And what you doing blue anyway? Scat says, hey man, thank you, but being blue almost drowned. I need to be something that's more mellow. I think I'm going to change my color to yellow. And you know what he said? I'm Scat the cat, I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that. So Scat changed his color to yellow, yellow like a lemon, yellow like a star, yellow so he went walking through the jungle when Leo the lion was king. Kind of went into territory he didn't know too much about. And when that lion saw that yellow cat, Scat, he went, come here, let me eat you up now! And Scat was so scared, he says, oh my goodness, I'm scared. But if I'm scared, I need to change my color. But what should I change it to? Oh, I know, I'm going to change it to red. And you know what he said? I'm Scat the cat, I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that. And so Scat changed his color to red, red like a strawberry, red like a bulb on a Christmas tree, red like a crayon. And so Scat was walking down the road all pretty and everything. And when the other cat saw that red cat, they said, what? A red cat? Who's ever seen a red cat? Get out of here! Go, get out of here! Scat says, oh my goodness, being red, nobody wants to play with me. And when I was yellow, Leo wanted to attack me. And when I was blue, I almost drowned. And when I was green, I couldn't even be seen. What should I do? What should I do? Does anybody know what I should do? You think I should go back? You think I should go, you think Scat should go back? Well, that's what he said. I'm gonna go back to being black. And you know what he said? I'm Scat the cat, I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that. So Scat changed his color to black, black like night, black like space, black like a cat. And he was walking down the road, and when his friends and his cousins and his brothers and his sisters saw that black cat, they said, Scat? Scat? Is that you? Where you been? Come on here, let's have some fun. So Scat started playing with his brothers and his sisters and his cousin, and from that point on, old Scat the cat had so much fun. And old Scat the cat just enjoyed and loved being black. Thank you. 2 years ago, December 27, 2011, I was laying up in a hospital bed in Macon, Georgia. I lost so much blood and everything, didn't know what was going to happen next. But my God, all I can say is that I lost about 80 pounds, about 30 years, a handful of teeth, and I'm still here, ready to go again, okay? This is the story that Terry requested. It's called The First Lesson. And usually when I tell this story, I say, if you want to make a suit or a dress, what do you got to learn? What's the first lesson? And people say, how to sew and how to read the pattern. And I say, well, if you want to make a cake or a pie, what's the first lesson? They say, well, you got to know how to cook. You got to know how to read the recipe and stuff. So the real question is, if you wanted wisdom, what's the first lesson do you need to learn?
To listen.
Somebody said to listen, get that one a lot. The story says Tunde wanted to marry an older female. And Tunde went to the older female's house and knocked on the door. Older female said, yes, Tunde, how can I help you? He said, older female, Tunde Obawale Jr., I want you to be my wife. Will you marry me? And the older female said, no, I will not marry you. Why not? I'm handsome. I'm educated. I come from a good home. I have a good job. And I want you to be my wife. Will you marry me? No, I will not marry you. But why not? I have everything. Name, family, education, and I care for you. Why would you marry me? I won't marry you because you don't have wisdom. Wisdom? Where did I get this wisdom from? Can I buy it? No. What, can I get it from a book? No. Where did you get it from? Go to Ngozi, and Ngozi will give you wisdom. Okay, I'm going to go to Ngozi, I'll get some wisdom, and I'll be right back. And so he left her, he ran down to Ngozi to get the wisdom, he almost knocked Ngozi. Yes, yes, what do you want? I want some wisdom so I can marry Olufemi. Will you give me some wisdom? I can't give you wisdom. She said you couldn't buy it. What does it cost? I'll pay you for it. I can't sell you wisdom. What can you do? I will teach you the first lesson. Okay, teach me. Come, let us go to the pond. And so they left Ngosi's house, went out back and went down to the pond. And when they got to the pond, there were snakes crawling in and out of it. There was mosquitoes and all kind of bugs flying all around. Lizards was going in and out of the water. Frogs were hopping in and out. And Ngozi said, step there into the water. What? You may step in the water and mess up my shoes? Do you want the first lesson? Yeah. So he stepped into the water. And Ngozi says, go further. What? And mess up my pants? Do you want to marry the girl? So he stepped onto the water, came up about to his waist. And Ngozi said, put your head down by the water. What's in the water? I don't know. What? So Tune went ahead and put his head right above the surface of the water. And Ngozi came behind him and pressed down on his shoulders until his head went down beneath the water. And he held it there. He held him underneath that water until Tune could stand it no longer. And then he let him up. When your head was underwater, did you want the first lesson? No, man! I only wanted some air! When your head was underwater, did you want wisdom? No, man! I only wanted some air! That, my son, is the first lesson. What? What lesson? When you want wisdom, like you wanted air, you will be on your way to having it. You can go to her now. What are you talking about? So they came up out of the water. Can you give me some more lessons? No, young man. You have all that you need. Bye. And Ngozi left him there at the edge of the pond. But Tune had to make a decision. Now, Olufemi wants me to get wisdom, but I only got one lesson. When I get back to her, should I tell her that I have wisdom? Or should I tell her the truth? How many people say I should tell her that I got wisdom? I see a hand back there, okay. How many people say I should stretch the truth? How many people say you should do whatever you got to do to get what you want? Well, you got a tough crowd today. I have to decide for myself. So he got back there, he called Olufemi out. Olufemi says, oh, Tunde, did you get wisdom? No. What did you get? I got the first lesson. Oh, and what's that? And Ngozi said that when I want wisdom, like I wanted air, I will be on my way to having it. And do you believe him? Well, if the wise man said it, it must be true. I will be your wife. What? You'll be my wife even though I only have one lesson? Why? Oh, Tunde, you have something that is more valuable than wisdom. More valuable than wisdom? What's that? You're truthful and honest. And with those two, the wisdom will come. I will be your wife. Well, Tune and Olufemi got married. Well, their parents gave them permission, and they got married. But I don't know if they live happily ever after, because that's a whole nother story. Thank you. I just want to leave you with a quote. I hope I don't misquote it from Baba Asa Hilliard. And he says, the question is not to be or not to be. The choice is to be African or not to be. That's right.
Asante, Asante. Next we have on program a member of WADU, our host organization, of which I'm proud to be a member of, Dr. Sharifa Sa Ma'at. Is she here?
coming back.
How has it been, Black America? How has it been your experience here in America? It's been a ma'afa. In the spirit of our exiled sister Asada Shakur, only a fool will allow their enemies to tell them who their friends are. Therefore, I stand and give rise to the God who is the head of my life. And with this, I stand with Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is a Pan-African conception that reminds us as Africans that Kwanzaa and Pan-Africanism is our ultimate salvation. Kwanzaa is our liberation, and it speaks to those Africans who suffer from menticide through the manifestations of inadequacy, inferiority, or hopelessness. Kwanzaa is a human agency for Pan-Africans because it is an indictment to those Africans who depend upon somebody else to tell us who we are or to save us from our oppression. Kwanzaa reminds us as a human agency that for Pan-Africans, it demonstrates that Pan-Africans must trust one another, that Black men and Black women must show the way of who we are. Kwanzaa is a human agency for Pan-Africans because where our food, clothing, shelter, and education are concerned, we are to turn to each other and not our oppressors. Kwanzaa is a human agency for Pan-Africans because we were brought into existence or thought that we come into an existence that we seek to validate ourselves as African people. Therefore, we define ourselves in our own voices and tell of our own life experiences. Since most of African history has been examined through the eyes of our oppressors, our invaders, explorers, as well as missionaries, Kwanzaa is transformational because it is a tale of Africans telling their own story. Kwanzaa concurs with Dr. Amos Wilson that history of the oppressed, as written by the oppressors, shape the consciousness and psychology of both oppressed and the oppressor. For it helps to legitimate the oppressive system and assists to maintain the imbalance of power in favor of the oppressor. Therefore, Kwanzaa and Kuji-Jagalia, or self-determination, is a historical testament to the spirit that says that as long as I exist, I shall resist. As a result, any person who struggles against this brutal and forceful empire, this fascist empire, is suicidal. And therefore, with this in mind, Kwanzaa allows us to be committed to the change, as well as be committed to the struggle, as well as to know the cost that it pays to be a revolutionary. And sometimes that cost is our life. Kwanzaa also affirms the old African proverb that freedom is not free. Freedom is something that you take with your own hands. And as Malcolm X used to say, and maintain it with your own hands. For freedom is not guaranteed or passed down from one generation to another. For each generation must assume the responsibility of securing their womanhood, their manhood, and eventually our nationhood. And the wise words of Dr. John Henry Clark, Kwanzaa, or self-determination, is people do not beg other people to restore their history. They do it for themselves. Self-determination, or Kuji-Jagalia, can be utilized as a political counterattack against any form of oppression because it enables us through the process of self-analysis, self-education, self-expression, and self-determination. Kwanzaa, or self-determination, is a blueprint for political aspiration because it transforms the Black body from a vessel of degradation and shame to a symbol of pride, sacred happiness and honor. Self-determination rejects the slaveholders' indoctrination that we were property. Africans who were taught that we were curses of Ham, who were taught to hate ourselves and anybody or anything that looked like us or reminded us of anything black or African. We were taught and led to believe that we were not human, just 3/5 of a human being, and it is still written in the Constitution, but only amended. Therefore, we were taught that we were not loved by God, which is even more cruel than the shackles that remain on our wrists. Therefore, Kwanzaa loudly explains to us that we shall reaffirm our own worldview through the physical, spiritual, psychological, as well as liberation under any oppression. Kwanzaa reminds us that since the election of President Barack Obama, some scholars and even those naysayers believe that America has finally moved beyond race and society and entered this so-called age of post-racial society. With this in mind, there has been a terrible historical role played on our education as well as our religion because it breeds false indoctrination, it breeds false misunderstanding, and it breeds false or lies and stereotypes. This brings us or bring us to the assertion that Pan-Africans, if we do not stand up and if we do not speak boldly, then we will be just like the masses of our people who are easily deceived by a few whites and their friendly gestures. By passing a few liberal laws or books or laws on books that are left there unforced and rotted. Books who have been, or laws that have been on the books who have been mastered by the masters of deceit. Kwanzaa is a time for us to stand up and let our voices be heard, and that the witchcraft of capitalism that has transformative powers for too many of our leaders have experienced some success, but somehow have got off track. Kwanzaa reminds us to get back on track. Self-determination reminds us that there are too many westernized, rationalized, and well-behaved products of this government experiment have rejected or minimalized our blackness, exhibited little empathy for the interests of our black people, and therefore we as black people have taught or been taught to hate everything that is black. We have been taught to hate everything that is black but love everything that is white. But we have not been taught to think like white people. For if we thought like white people, then we would want to own our own nation. We would want to control our own neighborhoods. We would want to control our own economy. We would want to have our own military. And we would want to control our own resources in our own communities. The central idea that motivates white supremacy is maintaining control and dominance. This establishment that maintains control and dominance will at one time reward you, and when necessary to maintain its control is the same system that will kill you. Some think that because they are receiving certain rewards from this system that it will continue forever. But we must realize and therefore must come to define ourselves for ourselves, and that the basic need for our humanity is to reclaim our history and our identity from what has been called cultural terrorism. We must become, like Walter Rodney refers to as guerrilla intellectuals. We must continue to struggle for the right to create our own terms through which we define ourselves as well as our relationships. We must define ourselves through the psychological control of our communities. Black people must redefine ourselves by asserting of our own definitions, Kujijagalia, reclaiming our history and not his story, embracing our culture to create our own sense of community as well as togetherness. Many of us who now refer to ourselves as African Americans, this is because this is the image of ourselves. When we begin to define our own image, our own likeness, then the stereotypes and the lies of the oppressors which have developed us into criminals will soon dissipate from our languages. We have a history that predates Columbus, that began on the continent of Africa. A history that is taught, that is not taught in standard textbooks of this racist society. Too long have we been kept in submission by being told that we have no culture, no manifest history before we landed on the auction blocks of this country. We must reject the Hollywood images of submissive and greedy Africans who sold each other into slavery. With redefinition, we can fully develop our communities and deal effectively with the problems of racism in this country. The adoption of Kwanzaa in our everyday lives is one of legitimacy as well as urgency. The Nguzo Saba speaks to all the needs in our community, and it is a call for all black people throughout the diaspora in this country and throughout the diaspora to unite with each other and to unite with those throughout the diaspora because we have a common bond. We must recognize our heritage and we must build a sense of community. Only black people can convey the revolutionary idea, and that this revolutionary idea does not exclude the revolution. We must come together and do things for ourselves, and we must achieve self-identity and self-determination in order to meet those daily needs. They may kill the revolutionary, but they cannot kill the revolution. They may jail the revolutionary, but they cannot jail the revolution. This is self-determination, and we class and characterized with the Ku Klux Klan and Hitler. The only means to this is that they do not expect for black people to stand up for themselves. Therefore, we must take care of our own business, and we must embrace the terminology of Kujijangalia and not give a hoot toot about what other people think about us. We must also reject the white backlash. We must stop being in fear of what white people think about us or what white people will say about us. We must become that revolutionary who think for themselves, who live for themselves, and will speak truth for themselves. We must not be in the business of trying to change white people's minds. We are in the business of changing black people's mind to a mind of black consciousness. And in this quest, there is no room for cowardness or even weakness. To run away from the danger, it shows that you are a coward. But anytime that you become a coward, then you are not a defender of God. Because God does not call cowards to the battlefield. God calls those of freedom fighters to the battlefield. And we must become those freedom fighters. Kwanzaa demands the dismantling of white supremacy. And this must come to us in a soon analogy of who we must be. What shall we do when they kill our leaders or when our leaders die? We shall continue to work in spite of the death or imprisonment of our leaders. We must be able to stand on our own legs with support and even breathe naturally. There should be no surrender on the firing squad. We must be that God has called us to be. And we must see that the ultimate goal is to be of freedom. We must embrace Kujijangalia like Jesus through the temple, Nat Turner through Southampton, Virginia, Jacques Dessalines through Haiti, Jonathan Jackson through the California courtroom, black soldiers with Sherman when they marched through Atlanta. So when Satan calls the roll and names all those whom Satan has destroyed, we must never let our names be mentioned among them. We must embrace the spirit of Malcolm X that said, we are either going to create our own nation or crawl back to the plantation. Thank you.
Start out with our hand raised and our fingers open, and then we clench our fists for unity and we pull together. And we do this how many times? 7 times. Okay, are we ready? Yes. All right, let's go. Hooray! Hooray!